Hi, Cheryl, Gallant here. Thanks for your patience. We've been waiting for media release from Warden Debbie Robinson. She had given me a call a little earlier saying that she was announcing a state of emergency for Renfrew County. Not quite sure what that means or what the details or if there are more restrictions involved, but if you listen to your local radio station or TV station, or if you've got access to the internet, go to the County of Renfrew tonight and there should be more details. New in the county also is a triage, a virtual triage assessment center. If you live in Renfrew County and District, and you have a health concern, including a concern related to COVID-19, and need to speak to your physician, you should first call your physician's office. If you do not have a family physician or cannot access your family physician, call the Renfrew County Virtual Triage and Assessment Center and a medical receptionist will connect you with care and support from a nurse practitioner, family physician, and or a community paramedic. This new service is covered by OHIP with a valid health card, and you can learn more at www.rcvtac.ca. Glass water. So that's www.rcvtac.ca or 1-844-727-6404. Also in Arnprior, we had some good news from Council, at least a little bit of a breathing room. Council has authorized some temporary financial measures for both individuals and businesses in response to the COVID-19 crisis, and they are waiving penalties and interest for water and wastewater billings with due dates of March 31st, April 30th, and May 31st, 2020. So the 30-day grace period with the deferral of property tax second installment in the dates from May 29th, 2020 to June 30th, 2020. So the 60-day grace period with the deadline extension for properties with taxes 2 years in arrear prior to the issuance of a tax certificate. So council will review the timeframes for these measures as the situation evolves. Again, go to your town of Arnprior website to get those deferrals. So there is breathing room if you need it. If you don't need it, pay your taxes as soon as you can because they still need to run the town. More good news, in fact, kudos from the town of Arnprior, in particularly the Arnprior Rotary Club. They've been hard at work, spearheaded by Gerhard Peters of the Arnprior Rotary Club, and getting all the money from the entire District 740 Rotary Clubs, including Ottawa Valley Rotary Clubs, contributing district clubs from Eastern Ontario, Western Quebec, and Northern New York State. So they have amassed a total of $10,500 in $50 gift cards. And these gift cards include gas cards for Canadian Tire gas bars, Esso Gas, Home Hardware, President's Choice Groceries, and local Shoppers Drug Marts. So these cards will be delivered to the local Ontario Works Manager, Social Services, at the department to disperse throughout Renfrew County to selected qualifying clients who are in need of this. So there is a little bit of help if you need an extra bit of help and you're on social assistance at this time. Now moving westward along the valley from the town of Renfrew, Mayor Don Eady has sent out a letter to the CEOs of Bell, Shaw Communications, Rogers Communications, and TELUS, stating that there is an emergency in terms of the need for connectivity. There are people who have none. He's asking for some low-cost sticks so that people who do not have access to the internet can do so. It's important for students to be able to continue on their studies, and they would also like some temporary Wi-Fi hotspots put in place around the area in Renfrew County so that students don't have to travel so far to find a Wi-Fi hotspot so they can do their homework. Also, seniors, the grandparents, they're feeling isolated from their grandchildren. So if their grandchildren have access to these sticks as well, they'll be able to say hi to Grandma and Grandpa on the weekends when they're done their homework. Now we have a number of questions that came in today since we posted that we were looking for questions for today's question and answer period. And the question is, if I work for a business that's designated as an essential service, however, I do not feel safe going into work, can I still collect EI? And what about the CRERB, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, for up to $2,000 a month? So the answer to that question is that an agent would have to do a fact-finding and then make a decision based on the information provided for each particular case and the legislation. So just remember, overall, an employment insurance claimant has to be available and willing to work and actively seeking employment. So if the claimant is ready, willing, and available, they will be at their employment or would be at their employment. If you refuse to work because you feel unsafe, you can apply for benefits anyhow, and if you do not qualify, you may be able to apply to the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, but that is for people who do not have access to EI. Okay, so the next question that came in was also on employment insurance, and the question is, I'm pregnant and concerned about the COVID-19 virus. If I leave work early and sign up for the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, however, I do not have the required number of hours for maternity leave, will it be affected? And the suggestion is from EI, the Services Canada, is if you do plan to go on sickness leave prior to leave due to COVID-19, the Service Canada strongly recommends that you have the required number of hours before going on the Canada Employment or Canada Emergency Response Benefit. And employment insurance, we hear that people are having a very difficult time getting through, and the message is to keep trying. The phone number is up, the website is up, it's just overloaded at different times. And again, the telephone number toll free is 1-800-206-7218. Again, 1-800-206-7218. And there we go. Another question. This one has to do with people traveling abroad. Hello, I'm a Canadian. My mother is a Canadian, and she went on vacation to visit her mother, and she was stranded. How can I get her home, or what should she do? So what Global Affairs recommends is that all Canadians register in countries where they are with the Global Affairs Canada. And so you can register at Global Affairs, and you can also email if you need to receive emergency assistance at sos@international.gc.ca or phone 1-613-996-8885. Now, it must be the individual who is stranded in another country looking to come home that must make that call. And then we also have some people who would like to come home. They have found a flight, but they just don't have the money to do so. And financial assistance is being provided for Canadians abroad. So the Government of Canada has introduced a loan program of up to $5,000 per person. And that's for people who need to either book an emergency flight or extend their stay abroad. So if the airports are closed, there are no flights back to Canada where you are, you can apply for a loan to help hold you over until you can get a flight home. So Canadians currently outside Canada who need financial assistance can contact the nearest Government of Canada office. The loan will be repaid to the Receiver General of Canada within 180 days of receipt of an invoice, and no interest shall apply. If the individual fails to pay the amount, money may be deducted from any money that may be owing to the borrower by the Government of Canada. So that could be income tax refunds, any income that you receive, or tax credits, cash tax credits that you receive from the Government of Canada. And there are the numbers to contact, as well as an emergency loan request form. So we have a website to contact there. Okay, so our next question has to do with the gathering of data on people as it applies to whether or not they have or have had COVID-19. So the question is, does the federal government have plans to check all Canadians at some point in the near future to see if they have had COVID-19 in the past and have built up an immunity? Well, right now they're working on having the people who may have COVID-19 who fit the category wherein they've either come from overseas or they've been with somebody who has COVID-19, and getting them tested to see whether or not they have it. Insofar as following up to see who has had it, at this time, there are no plans in place. However, your point is well made in that it would give a better overall picture if we knew who has had it and who has immunity at this time. So some point in the future, there may be a study on that. Another question: what experimental treatments has the government, is the government allowing for the very sick, and how are they allowing the healthcare workers to make those decisions? So the government in general is very reticent to test any drugs on patients other than in a more secure study like a university environment. There are all sorts of problems that can arise if there has not been official approval. So if somebody is being treated, the doctors would go to the patient and ask whether or not the person would want to try any procedure or be part of a study. So at this time, we are not aware of any type of experimental procedure or medicine that would be given, and at this point we're not anticipating any. Okay, so another question on health. Will we be continuing with closed borders until we know countries coming in are no longer at risk to Canada and that our citizens won't be exiting, putting other countries at risk? So, two parts there. Are we going to continue to stop people from other countries who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents of Canada from coming into Canada? And what are the prospects for Canadians who want to go out of Canada? And that's really being decided on almost a day-by-day basis. But the indications are that, at least for this week, things will maintain the status quo. New today, as of noon, however, is that anyone exhibiting symptoms of the virus is not allowed to travel intercity, that is from one city to the next, by train or by air. Buses are still allowed to be transporting people between cities. And can we have a promise from the federal government to this? I don't think the federal government is making any absolute decisions at this time as to when it would be safe to change matters at the borders. As these situations change, we will update you. Okay, question. What was Canada's federal deficit prior to the approval of the emergency spending bill? Okay, so we looked that up. And the federal deficit was $27 billion before any of the promises that were made during the campaign, the last campaign, were implemented. So that's what it was before. Small businesses. What's available to small business owners who won't qualify for any of the loans due to credit rating during this time? Okay, so we looked into that. A few things on the go right now. Again, that's changing day by day. Wage earners and self-employed individuals, including contract workers who would not otherwise be eligible for employment insurance, there is a benefit. We will allow, the government says they will allow businesses, including self-employed individuals, to defer their 2020 June 30th, 2020 payments of the goods and services tax, harmonized tax bills, as well as customs duties owing on their imports. So that's a bit of a break. So that will be a deferral until June 30th. The deferral will apply to GST and HT remittances for the months of February, March, and April 2020, and reporting periods for monthly filers. The January 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2020 reporting period for quarterly filers. And for annual filers, the amounts collected and owing for their previous fiscal year and installments of GST, and HST in respect of the filer's current fiscal year. And the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, also the CERB or CERB, will be accessible through a secure web portal starting early in April. So hopefully by the end of this week, we'll see that portal up and running. And there'll probably be a surge at the beginning, so don't lose hope, just keep on trying. Applicants, if you don't have access to the internet for the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, will also be given a toll-free number. And loans are on the way. So if you want updates, as we receive updates on programs and funding, we send them to people who have small businesses, and you can send us an email at cheryl.gallant@parle.gc.ca and ask to be included on the emails regarding updates for small business. Okay. So now we have a notice. We have a report coming in from the Ottawa River Regulation Planning Board, and it refers to the rising Ottawa River water levels. And specifically, they say that the Ottawa River Regulating Committee would like to inform watershed residents that levels and flows along the Ottawa River have begun increasing with the onset of the spring freshet period, and it cautions residents along the shores of the Ottawa River from Mattawa down to Montreal that during the spring period water levels can rise rapidly and cause minor flooding in low-lying areas. And that's assuming we just get the regular melt. So I do have a message that said if you are in low-lying area, or if you see that it's getting very hot all of a sudden and a lot of rain, that the time to put sandbags around your home is not when the water's at your front door. So bearing that in mind, we've had a few municipalities call in to let us know if water start rising quickly, how their residents obtain some sandbags. We heard from North Algona-Wilberforce, and the North Algona-Wilberforce does not charge for sandbags. And at this time, they keep an inventory at their Golden Lake sand shed, and residents are welcome to come and fill the bags for your own use. And you should call the office first so that they can track where the bags are being used and how many. And that's so that there's enough for everyone who needs it. At this time, there are no demands for bags, but the municipality is monitoring the situation daily. Holly Hayes of South Algonquin, she checked in and said that they receive sandbags from the Ministry of Natural Resources and provide them to residents at no cost. And if you have questions, or you may wish to call about any rising waters you see, you can call 613-637-2650. Now we have Whitewater region. Okay, a lot of flooding down there last year. So the township's emergency control group is preparing for the spring freshet. They have secured more than 30,000 sandbags. There are no costs for the sandbags, and they will be advising the public shortly where and when the sandbags will be available. So they'll be doing that shortly. Whitewater region, if you notice your water's going up very quickly, there's the telephone number to call. Bonnechere Valley in Eganville, we have 15,000 sandbags in our sand shed, it says our CAO, and there's no cost to the residents. Their fire and road crews are ready to help out when required, and they're providing a telephone number there if you see the waters rising and you have a need for sandbags. Then we have Killaloe, and they have sandbags available to their residents. Currently they have about 30,000 sandbags in stock. If the residents require sand and sandbags, they can contact the municipality, and that office number is 613-757-2300, or you can call the Works Superintendent at 613-401-9073. And again, there's no cost for that service. Now, I'd like to close on a positive note. We had some news today out of Chalk River in conjunction with the Triumph Lab. We have Arthur MacDonald, a Queen's University professor who shared the 2015 Nobel Prize in Physics. He's leading an effort by Canadian scientists at both those laboratories to produce a stripped-down, easy-to-manufacture hospital ventilator in time to meet the urgent demand for the machines because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So researchers at the Triumph Particle Accelerator in Vancouver and the Canadian Nuclear Laboratories at Chalk River, Ontario, are now aiming to complete 2 working prototypes of their ventilator, one at each location over the coming week. So we'll have some more news about that by the end of the week, I hope. So again, thank you for joining us. If you think of any questions between now and the next time we do an update, please send them off to cheryl.gallant@parle.gc.ca, and we'll do our best to answer your question next time around. So until then, be safe and make sure you're watching after one another, taking care especially of the seniors in your neighborhood, making sure they have what they need. Some of them have families who are far away, and they'd like to know that somebody is checking in on them when they can't. So have a lovely evening and talk to you soon.